Nightcast. Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth brings you the current news from the world today and how it relates to Bible prophecy. Understanding the end-time events leading to the peaceful world tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth.
Good evening, friends, and welcome to this May 6th, 2014 edition of Nightcast. Our opening story tonight, in the Ukraine crisis, Sloviansk braced for further clashes.
The men came to this remote school 3 weeks ago. At first, the teenage girls thought they were soldiers who'd come to rescue them from an attack. But then the men set the school alight and abducted more than 200 of the girls, driving them off into the forest.
We said goodbye. She promised to come back soon and help me with my work, selling things on the street. But then I was told that she has been abducted.
Yesterday, the violent Islamist group Boko Haram issued this video saying it had the girls and was going to sell them.
We're offering practical help. What has happened here, that the actions of Boko Haram in using girls as the spoils of war, the spoils of terrorism, is disgusting, it is immoral.
The Nigerian government has been struggling to respond, their efforts looking amateurish to many. I'm told that after some of the girls escaped, it took days for security forces to talk to them to find out what they knew about the kidnappers. So pressure is growing. The BBC's Tommy Oladipo.
Here in Nigeria, the government insists it's doing its best, even claiming to be winning the war against the Islamists. But despite the rhetoric, this year is turning out to be the bloodiest since the conflict began. And with horrifying cases like the abduction of the schoolgirls, there's increasing anger among the public. People are asking why the government is unable to stop the insecurity, or if it can.
Britain and America have been offering help to Nigeria. Foreign boots on the ground for a rescue mission won't be welcome, but intelligence like satellite imagery and aerial reconnaissance might help, since the problem now is finding the girls. They were taken from the town of Chibok in the northeast, but the terrain makes locating them extremely challenging. The search area is vast. The Sambisa forest is impenetrable and 40 times the size of London, making it hard to spot anyone, even from the air. And the girls may well have been dispersed into smaller groups or taken over the border to Cameroon. A list of the names of those taken. Some may already have been sold to become wives. With 8 more girls just abducted, their names are now added to the list of those whose fate is unknown. Gordon Carrera, BBC News.
Friends, I let the story go ahead and play, even though I think we've got one or two out of order for some reason. On that story, let me stay with that story for just a moment. Because I believe, let me just give me a moment. We're live. I need to straighten this out. Friends, that's one thing with a live broadcast. When we're live, if something goes wrong, we have to straighten it out while we're still live. All right, the report you just heard there with Mr. Carrera. Okay, now, since Sunday, I have some head notes for that story. I'm sorry for the pregnant pause there, but as of Sunday night, now if you missed that video that showed the leader of the Boko Haram saying they would sell the girls, just go to our archive for last night's program. We did play that video from yesterday's news on last night's news report. So that's in the archive for last night if you didn't see that. And since that time, the Boko Haram have kidnapped or abducted 8 more girls. Actually, the report here says, it says 8 more girls between the ages of 12 and 15. They kidnapped them from northeastern Nigeria on Sunday night, and you saw the report on that. Now, in relation to this story, we'll go back to the Ukraine after I'll give you the next story on South Sudan. The United States announces sanctions ahead of South Sudan talks. The U.S. has announced sanctions against individuals on both sides of the conflict in South Sudan, where violence has flared in the past few days as government forces try to take back the key oil town of Bentiu. Meanwhile, both the country's president and the opposition leader have told the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon that they will attend peace talks scheduled for Friday. The BBC's Alistair Lighthead reports.
A victory chant at the military base in Bentiu. After a day of intense fighting, it's still controlled by the rebel faction of South Sudan's army, who repelled a government attack. The general addressing them is the notorious commander, Peter Cadet. He's currently rebel leader Riek Machar's right-hand man, and said the enemy was defeated in battle.
The battle took place yesterday. It's a very heavy war yesterday, and we fought. We have wounded, we have casualties, and we cleared the enemy. We captured 3 tanks.
Until he saw a signed peace document, he said the fighting would go on. So you're not going to hold the ceasefire that's in place from tomorrow?
No. We don't have any letter. We could not accept ceasefire without document.
The government forces had tried to retake this strategic oil town just 2 days after US Secretary of State John Kerry was here urging peace. Enter UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon into the international push for peace, still hoping the President and Riek Machar can meet.
I'm very encouraged by President Salva Kiir's strong commitment and willingness to address this issue as soon as possible. And I'm very much encouraged that he is expressing his willingness to sit down together with the former Vice President Riek Machar.
The evidence of the battle is scattered along the road into Bentiu. The rebels are celebrating the latest twist in this 4.5-month crisis. The fighting in a few strategic towns just keeps going on and on. This civil war is going nowhere. And meanwhile, 1 million people have been forced from their homes, millions more are hungry. And while there's lots of talk about peace from the UN or the international community, unless things change on the ground and the violence stops, the outlook for South Sudan is not good. Alistair Leith at BBC News in Bentiu.
Thank you very much, Alistair. Alistair, a very brave reporter. Friends, in last night's video, if you didn't see last night's program, I really encourage you to go to our archive, dig that one out, and watch last night. We watched as Alistair was in the middle of a fight between the two conflicting parties, and he gets around. He was over. He was over at a UN base there, and the bullets were flying, and you could see him ducking down behind a metal barrier, but he was right there where the action is. Now, friends, what we're going to do is I'm going to come back to and play the Ukraine video that didn't play at the beginning. I'm going to play it at the end of tonight's program. That conflict in the Ukraine has been going on for a long time and will probably continue to go on for a long time until possibly World War III breaks out. Round 3 of World War breaks out. In South Africa, security is tight ahead of the South Africa poll. Thousands of police have been deployed in some townships as South Africans prepare to head to the polls tomorrow. The areas have been identified as hotspots where possible violence could erupt amid widespread discontent over economic and political turmoil in the country. Nomza Masiko reports.
A sign of force, not seen since apartheid days. Government sending a strong message to the youth: behave or face the consequences. Bekkersdal residents have been protesting over the lack of basic services such as running water, electricity and sanitation.
As you get into Bekkersdal, you can see that people are living squalors. One example is where we are right now. You can see that people in Bekkersdal are living like pigs. They won't force us to vote for them. They came into the township, they pointed guns at us, they shot at us, they killed us. And today they want the very same dirty votes with a barrel of a gun, with a number of police to intimidate us to vote for them. We want.
It is estimated 70% of South Africa's youth are unemployed. For them, the frustrations are huge. 20 years into South Africa's democracy, many of the so-called born-frees have chosen not to vote.
The youth is not registering because they don't see the youth. It's not about the ANC. It's not about everybody else. It's about what is not being done for them. They feel like when they go out there and vote, all these parties, actually the guy that I was talking to, the group that I was talking with at Facebook, is they feel like everybody, there's just one power, and then when they go in there, and then they just want to neglect us. This has been done over the last 20 years,
The overwhelming feeling here is that of desperation. Young people are sitting around with nothing to do. This is an abandoned youth center, one of several government initiatives to improve and empower the young people's lives, but it remains empty. The people here believe that government has not done enough to deliver on its promises to improve lives, and yet loyalty to the governing ANC is enormous.
Well, we've come a long way since 1994, and I believe in its leadership core. I believe in what it stands for. I'm very familiar with the policy, and I like the agenda. So for me personally, and for the majority, I think it speaks to us, and therefore we'll be voting ANC.
To the government, I would like to say to them, they must stop reacting to problems, They must come down and look at the root cause of these problems, And they must not come here and intimidate us with these police cars and want us to vote. Meanwhile, they don't listen to our problems, They want us to listen to them when it's time for them to gain from us. But when it's time for us when we want things from them, then they're not listening to us.
Despite the divisions, all indications are that the ANC will take the election. Nomsa Masego, BBC News, Johannesburg.
Friends, our next story is going to relate to China, and let me explain one reason why we really have an interest in what is happening in China. Well, I'll explain that to you in a moment. First, let's put our chart up on the screen that we use oftentimes during the program. We use it before the program goes on the air each night to determine which stories. This is one of our, well, maybe I should say 6 or 7, because actually beside the 6 seals that you see here on this part of the chart, if we were to expand the chart, you'll see it. There's actually 7 seals to this, and there's some consideration that goes into the 7th seal as well as to what we air on our daily news program related to the Bible and prophecy. There's 7 more major pieces of criteria, makes 14 that are the major criteria we use to determine which news stories are aired on this program from the current day's source of news. Most of them, though, come from this part of the chart that shows you the first 6 of the 7 seals of the book of Revelation. These six being found in the 6th chapter of Revelation. And now I say there's some reason we give consideration to the 7th seal as well, and that's for this reason. During the 7th seal, in between a couple of the woes, there's a verse in Revelation 9 that tells us, let's come back though, I want to come out of it and talk to you on screen as I do this. In Revelation 9 there's a verse I want to quickly go over with you because I got a lot of news stories to cover yet tonight. But if you look at the 16th verse of Revelation 9, you'll see it talks there about an army that is a huge army. It says the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. Now that's the verbiage used in the King James Version of the Bible. 200,000 means 200 million. This is talking about a 200 million man army. Where's an army that large going to come? Well, many have believed it could come out of China because they got the population for that there. And so this next story relates to China and an event there that happened. 6 people were killed in a stabbing in China. At least 6 people have been injured in a knife attack at a station in China. There is no information yet on the motivation for this attack, but it comes a week after an attack at another station in the western region of Xinjiang, and an attack at yet another station, Kunming, in March that killed 29 people. Chinese authorities have blamed both these attacks on separatists from a minority group. The BBC's Martin Patience described how the attack unfolded.
This was the second attack at a railway station within a week, and according to one account, 2 men were sitting down on the ground for 2 hours. This came from a shopkeeper, and then at some stage around 11 o'clock local time, they stood up, they said something out loud, and then they started slashing passengers. Now, according to the authorities, one of those men fled, although reports say he's now been detained. Another of the attacker was shot at the scene. He's been detained as well. There are conflicting reports saying that perhaps there was as many as 4 attackers, but we haven't got clarity on that yet.
And has anyone come forward to accept blame for this, China blaming the Uyghur separatists?
No, China hasn't revealed any details on the identities of the attackers. It has blamed Uyghur separatists, or as terrorists as Beijing puts it, for the previous 2 attacks. There was an attack in Urumqi last week in which 1 person died, dozens were injured. They were stabbed by attackers. And then very seriously for China, there was a horrendous attack back in March in which almost 30 people were killed, and many saw that as a real as an incident that has led to a sea change in China, that violence from the rest of far western region of Xinjiang is beginning to spread across the country, and that concern will again be ignited today.
And friends, I've got more news out of today's news related to China. In China, the disappearance of the country's former spy chief is seen as evidence of a major power struggle. Zhu Yangkang vanished late last year, suspected of corruption. He was one of the most powerful men in China, but his name has not been mentioned officially in over 160 days. An estimated, billions of dollars or billions of pounds of his family estate have been seized, and many of his allies have been arrested. Now, China wants to see if President Xi Jinping can keep such a powerful enemy out of sight. The BBC's China editor, Carrie Gracie, reports on the mystery of the missing security chief.
This family home is giving no secrets away to scandal hunters. Zhou Yongkang is still missing, presumed victim of the Orwellian security system that he once controlled. National media no longer speak his name, but here in Xitiantou village, he's still the favourite son. And no one believes the stories about corruption. Their house is no better than the one next door, he says. There's no sign of luxury. These neighbours say it's all politics, a power struggle at the top of the Communist Party. This group point me towards the family graveyard and press me for the latest rumour on where Zhou Yongkang is being held. When Zhou Yongkang last came here a year ago, all the local dignitaries turned out to pay tribute, but not anymore. Chinese politics is a cruel game. And even a couple of months ago, when his brother died, look, you can see his name here in black, there were no key members of the family, even at the funeral, because they were all in detention. So is it time to write Zhou Yongkang's political obituary? The farmer's son whose life journey got comfortable as he accelerated through party ranks, joining the limousine class, running an oil company, then a province of 80 million, and crowning his career with control of China's internal security. The veneer of harmony in the official press here is paper thin. The fight to take down Zhou Yongkang is bitter. China's is a political cycle which offers a new president no electoral mandate. So he uses corruption charges against an enemy to get his own people and policies into place. Strategists play this ancient game of siege to improve their real-life tactics. The president has seized 300 of his enemy's pieces. But the former security chief knows all his secrets and has tacit support from others who've made it rich in high office.
They're all watching Xi Jinping's next move. If he can actually bring Zhou down, they will have to obey him. But if he's just bluffing, they won't need to fear him. He will be a paper tiger.
Fighting tigers, the president's own description of his anti-corruption campaign, to show the other tigers who's boss, to bend the government to his will on policy, and to reassure the public that he is punishing the party's fat cats. But cornered predators are dangerous, so China waits, uneasy, for proof that this president has tamed his tiger. Carrie Gracie, BBC News, Wuxi, China.
Friends, some years ago, a wise man inspired by God advised, prepare to reduce your standard of living. He said that for people that lived in the United States and who lived in the United Kingdom. And it applies to people around other parts of the world as well. And yet, even though we can see signs of things telling us that the economy of these two great nations, the economy of the world, in many ways going down, and yet there are a few countries where it stands to go up, like Germany's really on the rise. But it's a time, friends, we can, if we look at what's going on and look at not just one part of the forest, not just where we are, but step back and look at you know the old expression, you can't see the forest for the trees, so step back, look at the forest for a moment, zero in on some of the other trees in the forest. There are some people that, when you look at how they're living, it'll help you pray, oh God, thank you for the blessings you have given me, even though I can see some of them being diminished as we get further into the game where the advice we were given will apply. Prepare to reduce your standard of living. There are people that are, and this also relates to something else I mentioned last night, how there are people who are really looking into getting into Europe now that it's becoming a united Europe with promises of offerings from the Union there, and with restrictions on going into Europe being removed and you being able to cross borders freely and work here or work there, wherever you can find work, and move into Europe. And this is causing tens of thousands of West African migrants to risk their lives every year. I showed you a video on that last night. We've got more video on that. Some of them attempt a very perilous journey across the Sahara to the north coast of Africa, risking themselves of dying of thirst or being sold to the militia for money. In this video report, Thomas Fessy reports from Agadez.
China's master strategists have been playing this game, wait or go, for possibly 2,500 1,000 years. It's a game of siege. You want to surround your...
This is where the promise of a better life starts. Agadez, ancient and secretive, the gateway to the Sahara and home to smugglers of all kinds. Behind these closed doors lies a brutal reality. This is nothing like Vivian expected. She left Nigeria with big dreams. Instead, she's now selling herself to men desperate to reach Europe.
We see men who pay us. This is how we make our money here. I'm not happy for the kind of job I'm doing. And the way we can survive. Nowhere to go again, no job.
So you thought this was the only solution for you to make money?
Yeah.
What would you like to do in Europe?
Me, I want to be a nurse.
Money is what they hope to find in Europe, but it's what they need now. They're queuing at the bank to cash whatever they have left or the little help their family may have sent. In the migration business, people are just another commodity. This man is smuggling up to 300 people a month.
Friends, I just wanted to give you a look at that. We're going to come on out of that story now, and I'm going to take you back to the story we wanted to play at the very beginning of the program tonight. And at least I think we are. I hope I didn't locked up our video player. Okay, I tell you what I'll do. I'll put the screen just temporarily while I reload the reload our player. And I want to thank Mr. and Mrs. Carey for tuning in tonight from Birmingham. A big salute to you. Also, one of my public radio friends may be watching tonight either live or by archive, so I don't want to mention the name just yet, but a good Jewish friend who does some of the same things that I have done in the public radio area, and I'm very eager. I just saw your email today before I had to run out and take care of some things like some repairs to my automobile and taking care of some things in town, and then getting back just in time to put this program together tonight. And friends, I may have to play you that video we're missing tomorrow night. The computer that has the video player is got the little circle rolling like it's trying to reload, but looks like it's a long way from getting there. A little circle just keeps spinning around. But that gives me a little opportunity just to say I'm very eager to want to answer your email, and I only saw it today, and it's not like I've been swallowed by some big fish or something. I'm still alive and kicking, and just been swamped. That happens. Well, friends, I'm just going to thank you for joining us tonight on this Tuesday night edition of Nightcast. We'll get that video I was going to play tonight and play it tomorrow night, or something related to it will be very much updated by tomorrow evening. I'll just mention this. In the few moments I have, I can maybe take a moment over if I have to. The situation in the Ukraine, I can just tell you that pro-Russian separatists in Sloviansk are braced for further clashes with Ukrainian government troops after a tough firefight on Monday. This is Tuesday, so that's yesterday. The Ukrainian government claims that more than 30 pro-Russian fighters were killed as the two sides fought for control of the rebel stronghold. Meanwhile, at a Council of Europe meeting, at a Council of Europe meeting, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov ruled out the idea of a new round of talks to defuse the crisis. World Affairs correspondent Mike Wooldridge did the video I wanted to play for you, and we'll either play it tomorrow night or an update tomorrow night. Friends, thanks for joining me on this Tuesday night edition of Nightcast. God willing, and the creek don't rise, we'll be back again tomorrow evening, Wednesday night, with tomorrow's current day's news related to the Bible and prophecy here on Nightcast. Until next time, your host Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth saying, so long, friends.
You have been watching Nightcast with Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth. Nightcast can be seen Sunday through Thursday nights here on COGTV.org. Tonight's program is also available anytime on demand in the COGTV.org video archive.